Hey everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going. Yeah.
Do you have your running shoes on? Because this is a busy Wednesday for us here at True Crime Squad.
It
Woo!
is. I know. I'm excited to dive in. There's a lot going on.
There
And
is.
and it's case updates night, which is my favorite. And we have the
Right.
watch party tonight. And I have
I
picked
know.
a good one.
Ooh, I can't wait. So every Wednesday, every Wednesday we do a case updates live stream at 7 p.m. Mountain. And you're
Mhm.
always invited to that. It is on YouTube and it's on our Facebook page. And we love for people to watch live and chat with us. It's a lot of fun. If you can't watch live, that's awesome too. Please join us either way. But then on the third Wednesday of every month, we do our watch party. So if you're a member of our YouTube channel, we have a subscription over there for $4.99 a month. That gets you the watch party on the third Wednesday of every month. So we synchronistically watch something on Netflix together. We don't stream it, obviously, that would be illegal. What we do stream is a live chat. So
Mhm.
we all watch the same show together, and it's always obviously a true crime something. We watch it together, and then it gives us a chance to chat together. It's really a lot of fun. It's the closest thing we get to all being in the same room, and we've all talked about how much fun that would be. Um,
Mhm.
and maybe someday we'll get to do some of this live. I don't know, but that would be great too. But in the meantime, this is how we do it. So it is tonight. It'll be at 8:15 Mountain. If you aren't a member, if you haven't joined our YouTube channel subscription, you can do that just by going to True Crime Squad on YouTube. There's a little button that says join. Click on that. It's $4.99 a month. It helps support us in doing everything that we're doing. And then we give you this really fun time together where we pick something interesting to watch and to discuss.
And then
So,
hang out
Katie,
together.
yeah, it's really a lot of fun. So, what are we watching?
So we are watching the confession tapes. This is over, of
Okay.
course, on Netflix. Season 2, episode 2, Joyride.
Okay.
The Confession Tapes is a really interesting little series. It only lasted for 2 seasons, but
Hmm.
basically they picked cases where there was different techniques of interrogation. Some really dubious ones, as you'll see in
Hmm.
this one, that may have resulted in confessions that were inaccurate or, otherwise,
Oh.
terrorizing people. And it's really interesting. So I chose this one because if you think you know what's up, you don't. It's pretty wild. So it's the Confession Tapes on Netflix, season 2, episode 2. And that'll be at about 8 p.m. Eastern. Well, it will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, or not Eastern. Where am I? 8 p.m. Mountain this evening.
Yeah. So if you join, then you get notifications when of these scheduled lives, and you can just go
Hmm.
right to our YouTube channel and join it. And then you can be a part of the chat. So
Yeah.
there's no sound, it's just chat.
Hmm.
Because sometimes people get confused by that. You have to turn on your own Netflix and watch the show,
Hmm.
and then chat with us. But it is a lot of fun. You don't often get
It is.
to watch something in a group of true crimers that,
Hmm.
you get to talk about what you're seeing and share your outrage together, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And your insights and your, did he really just say that? And your,
Yeah,
what do you think's really going on here? And it's fun.
it is. It's really fun.
Yeah.
So we will have that. If you're watching this on a Wednesday, it's this evening. If not, then it is a different Wednesday evening. But anyway, it's the third Wednesday of every month, so you can always find it on our channel. And with that, we have a lot to get into. And so Katie is going to kick us off with a very special missing person spotlight.
Yeah. Friends, it's one thing when you report on true crime from the outside looking in. Uh, this time we're on the inside looking out, I guess.
Yeah.
And It's not a crime that we know of. We suspect it's not, but it is a missing person. And as we know, when there's a missing person, it puts families in a very helpless position and a desperate position. And we learned late last week that one of our cousins is missing. His name is Paul Illum. He is the husband of our cousin. Paul's been a part of our family for close to 30 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to show you some pictures and share a few bits of information. For all of our Idaho, Utah, and Wyoming friends, this is particularly pertinent that you pay attention to this because, as we know, someone has always seen something.
Always.
Paul is 6'2". He has a buzzed head. He was last heard from on Wednesday, November 8th, physically about 10 a.m. And a phone call with his daughter. The thing to know about Paul is that he has a recent TBI. He was in a really terrifying four-wheeler accident not too long ago that resulted in having to have the top of his skull cap removed to allow for swelling. He's been going through an incredibly difficult time.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday, apparently he had a phone call with one of his daughters where he was quite incoherent and got them worrying. He drove from Brigham City, Utah into Idaho. So I'm going to share a few details there with you. This is an area that you may or may not know, but if you live around here, you should. So there was some camera footage from a gas station that he arrived at a place called Dee's Super Service in Laketown, Utah at 1:36 p.m. He purchased fuel and headed north on Bear Lake Boulevard towards Garden City at 1:46. He passed Mike's Market in Garden City, Utah at 2:02. He passed Minnetonka Market and Cafe in St. Charles, Idaho, and continued north at 2:23. There was also a ping from one of his AirPods in Paris, Idaho. And then we learned last night that the last ping from his car was around 2:45 p.m., and that was on Montpelier Canyon Road. This is an incredibly desolate place. There is very little cell phone service out through here. It's likely that he pulled, off of Montpelier Canyon Road. At that point, he would not have had cell phone service.
No coverage out there.
No. Now, Montpelier Canyon Road stretches between Idaho and Wyoming into near Star Valley, Wyoming. So that's kind of the area that he's in, or that it's believed that he's in. It has been a week. There have been extensive searches. Scott and I spent the entire day yesterday searching right up to Star Valley, Wyoming, and we didn't go down Montpelier Canyon Road because it was getting late in the day, and I sure wish we had because that information came in a little bit later. But the problem is Montpelier Canyon Road, there's a billion offshoots of that out into
just wilderness.
Yeah, the wilderness. And so it's still going to be an extensive search to try to find Paul and try to find his car. So if you are a local, if you aren't, if you live in any of these areas or know anyone who does, please reach out to them. Paul's car is a white Honda Accord 2018. The plate is G82MU. If last Wednesday or any other day.
G682MU.
Ah, thank you.
Sorry. I had to look, like, even with my bifocals on, I'm like, what did I say?
G682MU. If you or somebody you know thinks that they may have seen Paul that day or any other day, please contact the sheriff, any sheriff. Yeah. It doesn't matter. They'll get you in contact with the right people.
Be able to help you. Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's what we know up to this point. So, of course, his family is just frantic. We're all just incredibly concerned. This is so worrisome. He was not in a good state, and where he is not a good place to be. particularly with the temperatures that we are having.
Yeah.
Very, very, very concerning. So send your best, please. And again, if you live in any of these areas, know anyone who does, please, please pass this information along to them. Somebody saw something. They always have. They just might not know it. So,
Yep.
Christy, with that,
Absolutely.
I'm going to give the mic back over to you for our main case.
Yes. So there is a potential serial killer who was just on trial in Delaware. Oh, we totally missed this, which, we cannot possibly keep up with everything. I'll
No.
keep a pretty close finger on the pulse of serial killer news specifically. I'm kind of surprised I missed this, but I want to talk about this guy right here. This is Keith Gibson. Keith Gibson was just um, convicted, actually, 2 days ago, yesterday. Actually, the jury came back yesterday in the deaths of two people in Delaware. Now he is facing charges for four more in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area. And so he is right now being tentatively considered as a serial killer. Um, all of these people were killed in 2001 and not very far apart in time. So let me tell you a little bit more about it. The jury only deliberated for about 6 hours over a 2-day period before they found him guilty of the Delaware crimes. He is actually from Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
They found him guilty of murder and robbery in the killings of a cell phone store clerk from Ellesmere, Delaware, named Leslie Ruiz Basilio. She was 28, and Wilmington drug dealer Ronald White, who was 42. So he was actually convicted of 25 charges in total. There were 4 counts of murder, although I think that was because there was different levels of murder. We don't know what he's going to be sentenced at yet. Attempted murder, 13 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, 4 counts of robbery, conspiracy, theft of a motor vehicle, and wearing body armor during the commission of a felony. So his thing is to murder people during robberies.
Wow.
He was also convicted of attempted murder of a in the robbery and shooting of a Wilmington, Delaware store clerk, Bilal Al-Mansouri. Um, he was also convicted of armed robbery of a drugstore, assault, conspiracy, and gun crimes. So he's facing a mandatory life sentence in Delaware, but there's no sentencing date for him yet. The Philadelphia district attorney is just waiting for the sentencing because then he has more murder charges for him in Philadelphia in the killings of his mother and a Philadelphia donut shop owner or no manager.
Hmm.
And also the deaths of 2 men found shot in the head at a store in a Philadelphia Germantown neighborhood. And so those are going to be pursued after, things are done in Delaware. But I mean, there's video surveillance of these robberies and shootings. And so that's really what the prosecution relied on really heavily is they actually have video of him committing these crimes.
Wow.
They also have ballistics that link the 2 shootings to each other in Delaware, Ruiz Basilio and Wright, and tied them to a revolver that he actually had in his possession when he was arrested. They also found clothing and other things belonging to him near the cell phone store, and that there were a lot of things that pointed to him as the gunman in this situation besides the surveillance.
Uh-huh.
His defense didn't really present a defense. It was kind of a Lori Vallow kind of situation. I'm not sure that they really have much of a defense other than cross-examining witnesses and trying to point out that there's no DNA or fingerprint evidence linking him to the crimes, which is true, but there's video of him committing them. So that's a little. So
That typically seems like enough.
it does. So on May 15th of 2021, he shot Ruiz Basilio in a Metro PCF store. The video shows him take her to the back of the store and shoot her in the head at point blank range while she had her
Oh,
arms up. I mean, it's
wow.
absolutely damning. After he killed her, he then walks out of the store with money and stolen cell phones and drives away in her car.
What?
And
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I mean, this is some serious psychopath stuff. The car was then recovered not far from his house. He wasn't really doing anything to avoid being caught, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest. Um, and then on June 6th, um, Almansori was shot. He was laying on the floor pretending to be dead in his store when Gibson shot at him. He'd actually missed him, but he was laying on the floor pretending to be shot. This kid's just a teenager.
Yeah.
And so Gibson stole a bunch of stuff, and then as he was leaving, turned and shot him again in the head. Shot at him again. Shot him once
Mhm.
actually, but Almansori survived and did testify at Gibson's trial against him, which is amazing. That kid is a rock star
Yeah.
to have survived. Um,
Wow.
so that was one day after. So on June 5th of 2021, Wright was killed in his Wilmington residence, and that is um, he was a drug dealer. Gibson killed him and stole his drugs and his money. They actually police found him with a shoulder bag that Wright was known to carry his drugs in. Like he wasn't even trying not to.
Mhm. Yep.
Detected. I mean, it's wild. So on the same day that Wright was shot, so let me just give you the dates because this is how quickly this all happened. May 15th was the first shooting. Then June 5th is when he shot and killed Wright. On that same day, Christine Lugo opened her Dunkin' Donuts shop in North Philadelphia and was confronted by him. He pushed her inside, took $300, and shot her in the head. Um,
Hmm.
also on surveillance video. So that's June 5th. And then on June 6th, he shoots Almansori.
Wow.
Um, so he had only been out of prison a very short time. He had been in prison for 13 years for manslaughter, got out in December of 2020.
Wow. He
Yeah.
escalated quick.
He escalated really quickly. So we have May 15th, we have June 5th, June 6th, and then June 8th was actually when he was arrested. So he robbed a Rite Aid store in Wilmington, Delaware. The clerk actually gave him a bundle of cash that had a GPS tag in it. And so police tracked him through that and arrested him. He was wearing body armor and he was carrying ammunition that was consistent with bullet fragments found at two of the murder scenes. Like he had everything on him. Uh,
Hmm.
and the revolver that he had used was found nearby. So scary guy, very, very scary guy. I'm really glad he's been locked up ever since.
Yeah.
This is just, this is one of the things that happened during COVID that is just now finally seeing the light of day.
Yeah.
And so, obviously he was jumping across state lines there, committing these crimes. But you don't see serial killers whose goal is robbery very often.
No.
And they're calling him a serial killer because he killed people in different situations, over a period of time. Excuse me, a period of time, and there was obvious escalation that happened. But my God, what a terrifying rampage this dude went on.
Yeah.
I mean, the good news is he's locked up and he's locked up for good. Delaware has
Yeah.
convicted him, which means that there will be, no matter what else happens, he's never getting out of prison.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia will have their chance at him soon. But man, I feel for the families of these victims. How terrifying. People just trying to do their jobs,
Yep.
getting murdered at
Yep.
work, and the young man, the teenager who lived by, playing dead and tricking him,
Yeah.
even
Wow.
surviving being shot in the head is pretty amazing. But
Absolutely.
I think Keith Gibson is just a name to be aware of.
Yeah.
And these are crimes that we know of. And then, of course, he had already been in prison for manslaughter prior to this. So he has
Right.
quite a trail left behind him. And I'm hoping that at least these convictions are some relief for the victims' families, knowing that he's never going to get out.
No.
And obviously, he shouldn't. He should never be out in the public again. He is not a safe person to
No.
live in the
Obviously,
world with.
really unfortunate that he got out the first time.
Yeah.
13 years.
Yeah.
And frankly, unfortunate that he didn't get caught quicker.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
of which so
If
many people died.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a strange one. I mean, I know that we're
Mhm.
calling it a serial killer because it kind of applies, but in a lot of ways it doesn't. I don't know. I don't even know what to call this, other than terrifying.
I'm gonna qualify it as a serial killer event
Yeah.
because he didn't have to kill those people. He had
No, he certainly
means,
didn't.
he had weapons, he could have robbed them and left, and they could have
That's
just
true.
been robberies. He chose to kill them. He chose to
That's a good
push them
point.
back inside. I mean, not that he had to rob them either, but in all of these cases, he could have done everything else he did and not killed them. That
It's
was
a
a
really good
choice.
point. Because it wasn't as though he was killing them to keep from being identified, because he
No.
was on surveillance the whole time. And maybe he just didn't realize that, but I mean,
How
how
could
do
you
you
not
not?
realize that?
I
Yeah,
mean, he had been in prison for 13 years. Things have changed a lot, but I mean, pretty much all, stores have cameras.
of course.
So you would think. So
Yep. Nope.
anyway,
I'm qualifying
good
as
riddance.
serial killer myself.
I agree with you. I think that you make an excellent point there. And, good riddance, Keith Gibson. Burn in hell.
Yep,
And with that, you're going to wrap us up with some WTF news.
I am. I don't even know. I didn't know if I wanted to call this WTF news. I mean, it's a WTF for sure, but this is the case that we are going to definitely be paying attention to out of Las Vegas. So I want to show you.
Oh, yes.
This is our victim. This is Jonathan Lewis Jr. He was 17 years old. Jonathan went to high school in Las Vegas, and a couple of weeks ago, or last week, there was a fight at his school, outside of his school, after school.
Hmm.
Some bullies were bullying one of his friends that was a littler guy and had stolen, it sounds like some AirPods and maybe a vape from him, or
Hmm.
headphones of some sort. And Jonathan was not a kid to let people beat up on his friends. And I'm guessing he'd had enough of bullying and himself and his friends being picked on. And so
Hmm.
they said he took off his clothes. I'm guessing he took off his hoodie or something. Uh, but
I keep seeing that report, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, he didn't take off all his clothes, right?
no, this is what I think, and this is just my opinion. I'm thinking he probably stripped off a hoodie or maybe a hat or a couple of things like that. And the reason I say that is because in search warrants, it sounds like the police recovered those items from some of the perpetrators. So I
Oh,
think that'll come
okay.
out at trial, but that's what I'm thinking we're going to hear is that this was, you know, some minor items that he took off. But at any rate, he squared up with one person, which quickly turned into 10 people who were talking about high school students who beat Jonathan
Mhm.
to death.
Oh.
They beat him down to the point that a local bystander saw him on the ground, carried him back to the high school where 911 was called. He was taken to the hospital and was declared brain dead. In fact, his injury was something like a head injury incompatible with life.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
Mm.
so the police have taken this very seriously. And this was Rancho High School, by the way, in Vegas.
Hmm.
And so the police have now executed 9 search warrants yesterday, and they've arrested 8 kids, 8 teenagers, and they are going to arrest 2 more. How do they know? Because per normal with kids this age, there was video.
Of course.
There was video. And from that video, they're pretty much able to identify who was involved. And so now 8 kids are locked up and being charged in the murder of Jonathan, and 2 more are going to be as soon as they get them nailed down. Jonathan's family is,
sad.
yeah, understandably absolutely devastated and furious. I want to tell you something that his dad said about him. His dad said, "He's an aspiring artist, devoted big brother, and a fierce protector of loved ones. We are so grateful for all the love and community support that he's poured in for our son, and hope that the world will focus on all of that love and compassion as a beacon of hope for human relations and a place recognition upon how much stronger the love and spirit of the community is than the dark moments of violence." They do have a GoFundMe, and that GoFundMe is actually eclipsed $100,000 now. I will put a link in the show notes if you want to take a look at it. I noticed this morning Jonathan's dad had posted and said, "Please know that any comments on the GoFundMe that emote racism will be immediately deleted." I feel like his family is doing the very best they can in the darkest of days here. And
there have been some really ugly rumors that are not true around this case.
Yeah.
Around the race of the kids who beat him to death, which are not true.
No.
And around the motivation for this, which is also not true.
Yep.
I'm glad that his dad has addressed that, because those are dangerous lies to tell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's one of those cases that the video swept social media, and so lots of assumptions were made and lots of things were said, and here we are with a family, a teenager who will never have another birthday, who will never go to college, who will never have a partner in life, who will never accomplish their dreams. This is what group hatred gets us. This is what this gang mentality, this group mentality gets us. We're seeing this in the United States in adults, right and left. And of course, we're seeing it in kids too. And I think that this is just a really good moment for us to pause and ponder what we're involved in, what kind of group mentality can do. And as parents, make sure that we are really educating our kids on these kinds of situations and how are any one of the kids who did this killers on their own? Probably not.
Right.
But they got swept up in the moment.
Somebody else mob mentality, that group energy that sometimes takes over.
Yeah, someone else thought it was okay, so they did too. And here we are. And so now, not only did Jonathan lose his life, but we're going to have at least 10 kids here who are going to go to prison. They're being charged as adults.
Yeah.
And they should be, because this lack of discernment is incredibly concerning. And Jonathan's family deserves justice. Jonathan deserves justice. But how incredibly sad that a dust up over that led to this. So
it's a tremendous loss.
Per normal, we stand strongly against bullying. We stand against racism, and we absolutely stand against all of this. But it's just, it's wildly sad for all of the families involved. So sending so much love to Jonathan's family and to his friends, to everyone else who was affected by this.
Just his school completely. I mean, violence, that affects like an entire school of kids and teachers and school staff. That's tough trauma to come back from.
Yep, for sure. Yep. So there you go.
All right. And with that, just a quick reminder that tonight November 15th, if you're listening at this time, is the watch party. We are watching the Confession Tapes, Season 2, Episode 2, Joyride. So you can join that live stream if you are a member on our YouTube channel subscription, and there's still plenty of time to join that. We'll be watching that together and chatting. Sounds like Katie has picked a real doozy for us. I think it's kind of awesome also that you picked one that's got like dubious interrogation techniques, considering that this week our community is burying Christopher Tapp.
Yes.
Who is a man, if you don't know, we've talked about him a lot, was wrongly convicted of the murder of Angie Dodge, was released and has only been out for a few years and died in a tragic accident just a few days ago. Yeah. But he was the victim of a coerced confession.
Yeah.
So we know exactly how it can happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So stick with us. We're always back with more. We know there are lots of really interesting things happening in the true crime world. We've got a lot of messages from all of you recently, and we appreciate it very much. We'll be back with lots more content, as you know we always will, and we are keeping an eye on some cases that are playing out right now. And I'm sure next week we're going to have a lot to say about all of them. So thank you for.
We always do,
don't we? We always have a lot to say about pretty much everything, don't we?
I think so.
Well, don't forget to share, comment, like, subscribe, leave us a review where you can. All of those things help us to grow. And thank you all very much for being here. You know it. We are the True Crime Squad.
Take care.